Hello, everybody. This is
Hey,
Jules.
this is D, or simply D,
Yep,
depending on how
and
you
this
look
is
at
the
it.
Innermix Show Hangout. Welcome to our Hangout. This is where
Yeah,
we talk.
this is where you can hang out with us for, like, a little while, and we can go through whatever your issues and our issues are, primarily our issues, and we're just sharing them with you. But,
Yeah.
whatever. hmm that's what we're going to do today. We're just going to talk about our issues. Y'all just get to be our sounding board for once. How about that? How about we just complain and you just sit there and take it? No, no, that's
Let's
not
do that. That's nice. That's refreshing.
what kind of therapist would we be? Can you imagine people paid to come see us and they lay on the couch like,
They might feel better after that, though.
I'm sure like, you know what? My life's not as bad. Thank you very
Yeah.
much. I feel great. Thank you. Oh, man. Well, anyway, you guys, thank you for tuning in for another exciting episode. We have no idea what's going to happen, but we have a topic.
Yes, we do.
We should start every episode like that. We don't know what's going to happen, but we do have a topic. So we're gonna so we're gonna jump into that right after we ask the same old question we ask every week, and then we also even have a thought, a question that came in. What was it? Sometime over the weekend. I don't know, girl. I forgot today was Monday. Um, also,
The day after day, it just kind of fuses into each other.
man, I know, but so we're gonna go into how was your weekend, Jules?
Oh,
What did
that
you do?
section.
Yeah, we're going to go into that first
Let's
while I figure out what
see.
all this noise is going on behind me.
What did I do? I went rock climbing. I got scratched up. I have bruises here and there. It's good stuff, you guys.
Oh, yeah.
um,
Yes. Stay active.
I love being all cut up and yeah, that's bruised up. Oh yeah, my war wounds. No, but I have to say, like, this is. I don't go all that often. It's not like I go every week. I wish I could, but it's kind of far at the gym. But I go maybe if I'm lucky once a month. So it's not like continuous type of thing. But I feel like I don't know why, but I feel like as every time I go, I'm getting better, which encourages me to do harder stuff, like higher
hmm
levels. And then, um, in the gym that I go to, it's like specifically made for rock climbing, and it has huge walls. There's different levels going from level 6, which is I guess kind of the beginning, to
hmm
all the way up to the highest level there. I believe is a 12 or a 13. I think 12. But then starting from level 10, there's like A, B, C, D, and then 11 A, B, C, D, and then so it's like
Right.
um I did before when I used to only stick to like maybe level 9. That's like intermediate. And then there's people who are smaller than me, like smaller women, like or even younger girls, or like sometimes even younger boys, like I don't know, high school, maybe junior high, and they're doing level 10 or 11, and I'm like, oh hell no. So I just try to go. But you know what's so funny? You're all hooked up, right? You're hooked up to the rope. You for sure. And then there's always somebody belaying you. Belaying is when
Mhm.
the person that's holding onto the rope underneath. Um, so you're safe as long as the belayer is keeping,
Pay
being
attention.
paying attention and making sure that you don't fall to your death.
Right.
But
Right.
I know I'm secure, but then I go into like this action mode in my mind, and that I'm on a cliffhanger, and if I don't make it, I will die. So I hold on for dear life, even though I get cramps, and Dee's probably gonna have a great time figuring my muscle cramps out. But like, I cramp up, I get kinks in my neck, and I'm like sweating bullets because I'm like seriously fighting for my life. But I like that incitement. Is that weird? Um,
Not for you. No.
okay.
No.
So that's a really awesome sport. If you guys can ever, if there's a gym anywhere around or a boulder somewhere that you can climb, I suggest it highly. It's a lot of fun. So I did that, and I got a massage, which I've been needing to get for months and months and months. Been putting it off and putting it off, and I finally got it, and it was awesome. Um, my shoulders, whenever I used to like rotate my shoulders, it would make like sound. Like I was,
See the test
I
speed?
was like some kind of motor happening in the back. It doesn't do that anymore. It's nice. It's nice and lubricated with, I don't know, blood or something. There's actually circulation happening. So that's nice. And what else did I do? Oh, I don't usually lead praise at church on Sundays. I mean, I sing, but then I'm not the praise leader, quote unquote.
Mhm.
But I was for the services this Sunday, so I had to prepare. And for those of you who don't know, like it's a lot of work because you're picking out the songs that has to deal with the service of that day, the sermon, and then like pray about it, and then put together the set list, and then how the band is gonna play it, if there's chord transitions, and who's gonna play what part, how's it gonna start. There's so much stuff. Like it's like a musical director
Really? You
What?
don't say.
Shut up. So, but because we don't play to tracks, so like we have a full-on band, and so I prepped a lot on Saturday for that because we had the service on Sunday, and it went well, thank God. And I mean, it was an amazing time. Granted, I think a lot of the people didn't show up. The normal amount of people didn't show up only because of the World Cup. Happening. So
Super Bowl
yeah.
Sunday. Those are the ones.
Yep, exactly. But at least World Cup only happens once every 4 years.
Mhm.
But yeah, I missed the game. I was a little upset, but it's okay. I heard it was not that exciting anyway. So that was my weekend.
Well, fantastic.
How was your weekend?
My weekend was cool.
Moving on.
My weekend was cool. But yeah, so we, church was good. I did, when I realized that for the last 2 weeks, I've been doing a lot of, I do a lot of life coaching anyway, but I think this last 2 weeks has been very emotional. Like it's been not necessarily for me so much as other than me empathizing and sympathizing with the people that are going through these incredible things. Every time I text Jules, it's just another level. Like,
Yep.
It's
I'm
just
like, what? Really? This person said what? Huh?
it's just another level, and you just and it's so hard to imagine the fact that a lot of people, the things these people go through, because you're like, no, that doesn't happen in real life. People don't do that, and oh man, it's just, I feel blessed and privileged to be able to be there for the people who are going through these things. And it's interesting because it's just a little side note, but it's our show, so whatever. But it's interesting. It's interesting that I was thinking about this yesterday after church, because yesterday was a very deep experience at church yesterday, and I realized that as much as people try not to put their life pressures on other people, that's kind of what we're here for. Like it's interesting because it's one thing when you have somebody who is always telling you over and over again, this is my problem, this is my problem, this is my problem, but they're not looking for a solution, right? Then there's another one when you're praying and you're asking God to please help you with the situation, to help you clear your mind so that you can actually be sober-minded in your decisions and all this kind of stuff, right? And lately, it's all, and I think we started on this before this ever started hitting before it ever started hitting in what was happening around me right now. But we were already talking about relationships and dealing with interpersonal relationships and your identity and all that. We were just finished up the series with, I forgot what that series was, but it was long, girl. It was, but we had just finished up that series. We started talking about, just knowing yourself and knowing that you have value and all these things. And,
I think it was the understanding your value series.
Oh, no. We were doing stress. Oh, that's what it was. Relationship stress. Stress in your relationships, right? But we do need to do that one. Thank God we did that series because I had so much information for these people. But then I realized as I was studying, because I'm preaching soon, and I was studying some things up, and the funny thing about studying for when you're about to preach is half the time you'll be doing all the studying and you're not going to be preaching any of the things you studied because it's going to be something totally different for the crowd that God is putting in that room that day. So, so it's
So
fantastic.
basically, you did all the prep work for nothing.
Well, no, you know what I do? I have two books now. I have one for the show and one for church. And I said, Lord, which book are we coming out of today? Because really, honestly, it's like I do all the studying and then we get these great people who watch the show who need encouragement, who need to, like last week when we went through that little Bible study, which I never planned on doing with going back and, we talked about Abraham
Oh,
and
right. Yeah, yeah.
man, everybody was like, they went back and read it. I mean, people were actually talking about, I never read that story before. I never really realized, how much it takes to be there for somebody. So, but anyway, I was thinking about how privileged I am to be in the position that I'm in because it's like I go through a lot of things, like, and people don't often know that I go through a lot of things, whether it's health-wise or, family or whatever, because I'm always so happy, but I'm happy. I'm always so happy, but I'm happy because I've made it through so many things in the past that could have potentially taken my body, my mind, my very just, my smile would have never come back. These things are supposed to steal from me, and all it did was reaffirm how good God is in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So because of it, I just can't stop smiling. And but I was thinking about this yesterday in church. I was like, God puts us into each other's lives for a reason, and sometimes it is so that you can bear the weight of the other person's issues that they're going through, and because we have this really bad habit of saying, I just don't want to burden them. I don't want to put this on them, but and then I was working with somebody. I was talking to somebody just about an hour ago, and I said, so I had to ask Jules, can you take care of doing some of this stuff before the show, because I was counseling, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was funny because I told them, I said, they're like, well, you're already going through so much stuff on your own. I don't want to talk to you about my stuff because you're already going through so much stuff. And I said, imagine if we took that approach. Can you imagine if everybody took that approach when they were talking to the people that God had sent to help them in their situation? Because they were all going through stuff. Every one of them, they were all going through stuff. But the one I like to bring up is, see, when Jesus was doing all the stuff when Jesus was helping all these people, he was going through the most stuff. He was going through. I mean, he was just being attacked left and right. His credibility, his name was always in question. His abilities were always in question. His motives were always in question. His who he had as friends were always in question. It was just everything was
Being
always in
tested
question.
by the devil himself.
Yeah, always in question. And never once did he say, well, you know what? Let me take it. All he did was step aside to pray. And then came back and jumped in, dived in, full force. He's like, you know what? Because it's not about me. It's about you, and you understanding the kind of person I am. And then I had to. And she's like, I never thought about it that way. I said, look, I'll tell you when it's too much for me. I said because right now you are starting to come up out of the situation you're in. You're starting to see hope. You're starting to see life. You're starting to see. I don't want that to disappear because you think I can't handle it. Because girl, and then after a point, I talk to everybody the same way. Girl, look, you got to get this out, because if you don't get this out, it's going to consume you. It's going to eat you up, and then after a while, you're going to start seeing nothing but bad things happening. And as much as you think you can fight it, and as strong as you think you are in the Lord, and that you can just, that's why you called me. 2 by 2, they got to help each other. You can't do it on your own, right? And she's like, well, okay, so this is what's going on. By the time it was all said and done, she was so excited, and then I felt better because she was okay.
Well, and sometimes also, first of all, I want to mention this. You're like a breed on your own. Not a lot of people are like you, in the sense that I know, if I were to go through all this crap and then more people are putting their crap on me, most people would be overwhelmed. Okay, but so you're a league on your own. I have to just say that for everybody to understand. Not everybody's gonna be like that. But secondly, but sometimes though, when somebody else comes to you with a problem, many times out of, I would say, and maybe at least half the time, either it's because you already went through it, or you're going through it yourself now, and by helping each other go through it together, it actually, by helping somebody else, you get better at the same time. And I think a lot of people forget that, and they think, I just have too much on my plate. Don't come to me with anything. But then by helping you about by helping other people go through what you're going through at the same time. If you guys talk it out and work it out and like find solutions together, sometimes it's easier, you know.
Well, like I told, I was telling somebody yesterday or today, I don't remember anymore. They're all starting to blend together. And maybe that's why I forgot today was Monday, because Sunday was such a it was such a spiritual day. Like, it was just such a
It was, wasn't it?
people really just needed some help. I mean, it's one thing when you feel like these are normal issues. It's another thing when you say these issues are affecting my heart. Because and when these issues start to affect your heart, you start to do this dance in your mind, trying to figure out how to navigate the issues of your heart. But that's why God called them the issues of your heart, because it's not something that you're going to navigate on your own. You need a guide, and that's one of those things. Like yesterday, we were talking to someone whose heart is so hurt, and they don't, and my wife and I have been through this process, but they don't really want to acknowledge that me and my wife have been through this process, because that means that they have to acknowledge that we made it through, where they're still in this thing. And I understand that, and then the girl that I spoke to today, a friend of hers, is going through something very similar, and she's not looking to, and she's just losing herself in it. She's just, and I told her, I said, look, have your friend call me. I don't care if you use a three-way call, whatever, because someone who's been through what she's going through has to tell her now, get up, stop crying, it's time to move forward, because you don't want to lose yourself because you've been hurt. You don't want to, we are good. And thank you so much, Teresa. But we are really good when it comes down to making excuses for other people in our lives. And then we're good at making excuses for ourselves, why we think it's okay, or why we think, we are good. I mean, we are masters at this. Like when you talk to people who've been abused. Well, they didn't mean it. Well, they're not really this way. Okay, so when they swung at you the first time, that was an accident because they were swatting out a fly, which reminds me about this weekend when you almost knocked that tray out this person. It's fantastic.
I'm very, expressive with my hands when I talk sometimes. Okay? It's not my fault if you're in my vicinity as I'm explaining something. Just give me my personal space and we'll be all good.
The personal space is like it's somebody else's seat. I mean, it was funny. Jules almost knocked this tray out of somebody's hand while was walking by us at a restaurant. But it was funny. But anyway, but we're really good at making excuses for people, especially when we start seeing a pattern of behavior. Then we say, oh, but maybe this, or oh, but maybe that. And every time we do that, because there are excuses and then there are reasons, right? And I think we did a show once called Excuses versus Reasons, or I think we had to detour a show into that at one point on the radio show, because there are excuses and there are reasons, and very few of those reasons work anymore. How come you didn't make it to work today? The excuse was, oh, my alarm went off late and this, that, and the other. The reason was, I didn't want to get up when it went off the first time. So, but the excuse was, I don't know what happened. I just can't. So nobody ever really wants to get to the reason. Nobody wants to get to the fact. They want to go with the excuse because the excuse sounds so much more like it's something we can deal with as a group. We can all understand this as a group. We can all get together as a group, and we will believe this together. And then all of a sudden they want to pull out a scripture. We're two or more gathered. We can believe. How come you went broke? The excuse was, well, the economy and everything is just so bad and blah, blah. And the reason, I didn't know how to stop spending when I saw the economy going bad. But, let's use the excuse. But we do that for people in our lives all the time. And it makes it really hard for us to maintain a sense of who we are in terms of our value, because every time we make an excuse for somebody else, we are now have to tell ourselves we have to believe that excuse. We have to believe it ourselves. So we're telling ourselves, eat this, you're going to like it. Eat this, you're going to like it. And it starts to make you bitter, and it starts to make you all kinds of crazy inside. And then it becomes more of an issue of the heart, because sooner or later, your heart's going to start telling you, this ain't right. This is not how I was made. I don't deal with this. I don't eat this food. This don't reflect what I like to eat. What's wrong with you? You know, I know this from experience.
About food?
Well, I know it's about relationships. I know it's about and people that I've let into my life and stuff like that. But
Also, somebody that was controlling?
Somebody who was hurting me, and I refused to acknowledge the hurt. I was only dealing with the, you know, well, this is why, or this is why, or this is why, or this is why. And I'm seeing a lot of that over the last couple of weeks. Is people are making so many excuses for the ones that are around them that it's hurting them. It's literally hurting them. They're starting to become their whole demeanor is starting to change. And this is the same thing that happens when people are battered and abused, is their whole demeanor starts to change. That's how come you, like in high school, you recognize your friend. Something was changing about your friend because she was in that relationship that was abusive. And so she started making excuses for the abuser. And after a while, the behavior of the person starts to change. You still see the same person, but they're no longer the same person, and they don't even recognize they're going through the transition.
Or sometimes, from my experience, you don't even see the person. They start to kind of shy away and start putting up walls, and you don't know where they're doing, what they're doing, where they're doing what, and you just lose touch. And then when everything goes bad is when they show up. It's like, oh yeah, I should have listened to you, and
Well, there comes this phase where when people, like they always talk about interventions and all that kind of stuff, but there comes this point where they tell you if someone is determined to go through these things, you have to give them the space to go through it, because they're not looking for you to help them. They're looking to take you with them on the journey. And sometimes the best thing you can do for them is let them go on the journey. And it's hard because you love them. But at the same time, if they don't go on the journey, then they're always going to accuse you of trying to get in the way of their love or of their relationship or of their this or of their that. So they got to take the trip, right? and then you tell yourself, and because they always come back and say the same thing, I was smarter than that. I knew better. They always say it, but it's better that they say it than you say it. Because when you say it, then there's a problem. You smarter than that. You know better than that. You don't know me. You don't
call
know
me stupid?
Yeah. You don't know me. You don't know our love.
Oh my God.
I cannot remember where I heard that, but ever since I heard that, it just always cracks me up because it's the most. I know it had to be like a cartoon or something because it's so animated, but it's so funny because it's really what people are saying to you. It's like, you don't know me, you don't know our love, you don't understand what I've been through, you don't know my commitment to this. You don't know how long I've invested in this thing. I can't let it go now. Oh my God. Oh man. So it's funny, but with all the things that people are going through right now, right? I mean, like last time we saw you guys, someone who was talking about suicide, someone was losing their physical sight, someone was what was the other one? Oh, somebody had become handicapped, and they're starting to deal with identifying who they are, and all that kind of stuff, and going through these transitions. So that was last week. This week, we got somebody who is about to have spinal cord surgery, and their daughter basically said, "I'm too busy to go to surgery and be there for you when you get out of surgery and all that kind of stuff." Because I'm going to
the only daughter, right?
Oh yeah,
the only child.
Only child.
How does that make any sense?
Because people, the value the value that they've placed on the person is not as important as their own value. It's like it's hard to explain, but I've seen it happen, before, where somebody will say, you know what, if my parent passes away, don't even tell me about it. I don't even care. Type thing. And it's not like there's a rift in this particular relationship. The daughter just feels like, I have better things to do with my time than sit in the hospital. I could be at the river with my boyfriend. So, and the daughter is our age, so it really just made no sense. But anyway, so
that boggles my mind. Like,
you and my wife had the exact same quote actually when I told her about it too. I was like, see, I can't share this stuff on the air. No. Right? But then, so this was, so I remember I sent Jules a text about it, and then the very next day or something like that, I think it was, well, Saturday or Sunday, like after, we had, because I know me and Jules had some work we had to do and all that stuff, and then my wife, she had gotten a request from a friend of ours on Thursday to spend some time with her and all that. Well, we have a really close dear friend who her goal in life, one of her major goals has always been to have children. And she just found out that she's going to have a hysterectomy.
Oh no.
Mm-hmm. Because she can, so she will not be able to bear her own children. And and I've known this girl forever. Like, it's a very, so it hit me kind of hard because I'm like, man, I knew that her soul, like, I mean, ever since I've known her thing was she wants to be a mom, she wants to have kids, she wants, well, of course, to be a mom, you have to have kids, but she wanted to be, basically her thing was marriage. She didn't mind becoming a housewife. She wanted to have kids, but this girl, she went through, because she couldn't depend on just being a housewife, she went through and got her master's degree in her field. But now, after all the things that she's gone through in life, she's finding out that so she may have to have, she is going to have a hysterectomy, and she just needed someone who was going to be there for her outside of her spouse, so that she knew that she was, whatever, because man, it was a very interesting thing. So my wife and I, we're like on the go. It's like it's a very interesting thing, and like and I'm thinking about it, it's like that hit me so deeply because I'm like, man, everybody is having their dream challenged. Everybody's having their faith in what God is able to do in their life challenged, and it's hitting them so deeply that everybody's having issues of the heart, and it's an incredible time in God, because
yeah, no, really. I mean, I have a friend from high school. Like, we were really close. We played, volleyball together, and like we were just, always hung out, like all of us, in the same team.
Mhm.
Just found out. I mean, he's married. His dad is also pastor, and so we talked a lot. We were in Christian club together and all that. He had a second child. She had some complications. I think she was about maybe a month or so old. So it, fully born, everything, and then
Mhm.
something happened. I'm not exactly sure what, but she had to get surgery, and then the couple of days after surgery, she passed away, and just this like couple of days ago.
Mhm.
And I just found out today, and the funeral is on Wednesday, and I'm just, when I saw that, because I had no idea that he was going through all of this, and I saw it, and I just, oh, I can't even imagine. And I also know somebody else who I'm really close to, like it's like almost like a family friend, and she had 2 miscarriages. But then the good news is she now is finally pregnant, and so it's like all these mixed emotions of like happy stories, and then travesty, and yeah, my heart is like, okay, oh, I don't know what to feel right now. It's all of this at the same time, you know.
I was, it's very, like I said, it's a very interesting time in understanding who you are, who God is, and more importantly, these things also come to show you whether or not you understand, well, one, your value. Like, how do you continue to look at yourself when these things happen? How do you look at yourself? Because I was explaining to somebody today, again, before this show, before this call, that when you get into a relationship, because we spend a lot of time talking about relationships, but I think that's kind of what we do. But we spend a lot of time talking about relationships, and I said, no matter how much you don't want to change, you are going to change, and
Oh
people
yeah.
around you are going to start to notice the change in you, and then the ones who notice negative changes in you are going to be very slow to mention the negative change because of how much they believe you want what you have, so it's a very, because I remember my friends tiptoed around it for a minute, except for what? And but he was like, look, I've taken one of your punches before, so I can take it. That was the first thing he said to me before he said, she's wrong for you. Wrong from the beginning to the end. She's everything you do not need. She's the antithesis. I was like, when did you start using a dictionary? He's like, look, I got words.
I've
He's
learned
like,
it.
yeah, he's like, if you are Christ, she is the Antichrist. If you, I'm like, my God. He's like, D, I'm trying to say this in the nicest way possible. I said, this is the nicest way possible. He said,
like,
believe me.
run.
He's like, believe me, this is the nicest way possible. He said, because you have lost yourself in the middle of all these things. He said, in your relationship with her. He said, not that, he said, because, people going to change. They always change in the relationships and all that kind of stuff. But you're losing the core of who you are in this relationship. And aren't the relationships supposed to enhance the best parts of you? And, and he's like, is this not what you told me? I said, shut up. Ain't nobody talking to you about what I said.
Don't use my words against me.
How dare you? Who gives you the right? You don't know. No, anyway, so. But it really came down to, so when I was talking to this person earlier, I said to them that relationships will change you. And the thing is sometimes the relationships that we're in will cause us to not recognize how much we have not only changed, but how much our love for ourselves has actually decreased. And she's like, really? I said, you can put so much on understanding someone else that you forget to look at yourself. And and when that happens, you start to treat yourself in a way that you would not want someone else to treat you. Because you are taking these hits, you're taking these shots you're taking these, because relationships are all about going through, getting through, and achieving. That's what every relationship in your life is going to be about. You meet, you go through, you get through, you achieve, right? And then you break, and then you go through the next thing. It's life, people. That's just what happens, right? But there's a part in there where the getting through part. She was having a problem with the getting through, because the way she gets through and the way he gets through, two different get throughs, right? And I said, okay, so which one of you is going to win? She's like, well, aren't we supposed to do everything the same and match it up? I said, no. I said, because if you spend too much time trying to figure out how we can come to an understanding, and you guys are going to sit there in the middle of the situation and not go anywhere, because it's going to keep happening. You're going to see a little pull this way, then, I'm sorry, I don't know if I'm in screen. Pull that way, then pull that way, then pull that way, then pull that way, and then you're going to get so frustrated that you're not going to even really know where you are anymore. So sometimes in the beginning of my relationship, because this happens in every relationship for the most part, unless you've written for television. Right? Right? Then what happens is, I used to tell my wife, I said, you know what, let's go with your idea this time. Let's go with your idea. Now, I have the experience, and I have the know-how, and I have the incredibly big pride issues, and I have to win. Everybody who knows me on a personal level knows that my whole family is very competitive, very, very, very competitive. Okay, Jules has seen my mom play volleyball. Back at my whole church. Okay, it's gotta when it comes to sports and we have this thing going on at church right now where we're raising money and we're competing with that. But it's fun. It's for a good cause. But it's still I'm going to be at the top of the leaderboard by the time it's all said and done. Right? So, and I surround myself with like-minded people, like Jules. So, so the thing is, though, is
I'm not even doing that contest, but I'm gonna win.
Yeah, I'm not even a part of that. But watch, final day that is due, boom, got you. My mom was not even in the state, and she's like, I'm gonna win. Okay, but anyway, so. So the thing is, though, is all these characteristics that I have, right? I looked at the problem, I looked at the situation, I looked at the fact that me and my wife were or not even at the time, my wife were at an impasse, right? So I tried it one way first. I gotta be totally honest. Like we were in the part of our relationship where um where I knew I was right. Okay, like there was no doubt in my mind. I'd been through this stuff before. It just made sense.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to me,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then she was in this part where I think this is how I feel, and maybe if, and I'm like, those are not strong enough arguments for me.
Yeah. You
Right?
already lost this one.
Yeah, right? But I had to understand that this is where she was at, which irritated me. But let me tell you. Okay, I'm gonna tell you my bad reaction to something first, so that you guys can gauge the change. Okay, I had a um, this is actually we had been talking about marriage a little bit more and more, and talking about future and this, that, and the other, and so I she's like, don't you need me? And I said, I don't need I don't need anybody, but
But I
I
want
like
you.
I want you. I want you around, but I don't need you like that. And she took it.
So wrong, I'm sure.
Yeah, she took it wrong, right?
Oh,
And
you don't need me? All right then, I'm out.
well, we
Is
were
that her answer?
driving. We were driving, and she was upset, and she was in a kind of a bad mood. And I said, you know what? You can just go home. It's cool. You just drop me off here. I can call somebody else to pick me up and give me a ride home. I'll just call one of the other girls because all my friends were girls. But I specifically said, but I'll just call one of the other girls.
No, but
Oh,
what made you say that? That you're gonna, because she reacted wrong to what you
yeah,
said?
because of how she reacted, I was like, oh no, you're not going to have the final emotional push in this situation.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, I'll just call one of the other girls. No big deal. I'll get home. But she knew all my friends were girls, but I specifically said girls and not one of my friends
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because it just hits different. So so she was like, no, no, no. I said, no, no. I've already made my decision. I got out the car and I told her, have a good ride home. I'll talk to you tomorrow. And I called one of my friends, picked me up, took me home.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. She was just like, see, people, that was the wrong way. Don't smile like that. That was the wrong way
Oh, that's so much satisfaction.
to have. Wasn't even a thing. They're like, okay, D, no problem. I mean, in the place I was, I could have technically called my ex-girlfriend to pick me up, but I wasn't going to go that far. Because she was going to ask me, well, who gave you a ride? And I'm not a liar, so I'm not going to lie. So I could not call that person to come pick me up because that would have just been suicide. so so my friend came, she picked me up, we went and had dinner, sat and talked, and I talked to her about her relationship and how her and her man are having these issues and this, that, and the other, and blah blah. And I was like, this is what I get. Because it's the same story that I heard for the last 3 weeks almost every day.
Awesome.
But because I had to prove a point about needing somebody, I'm going through this story again.
Mm-hmm.
And not only did I have to hear it through dinner, but I had to hear it on the half-hour ride home. And then she wanted to hang out at my house so we could talk about it some more.
But your girlfriend doesn't need to know all that.
No, what I said, oh yeah, she picked me up, we had dinner, had a good time, just talked a bit, hung out for a little while. You know me so well. You just so that was the wrong way to deal with that. Okay, I'll let y'all know. But I'm glad that we went through it early and not later in the relationship. This was like at month 8 or something like that. We were like between month 8 and 12. So between 8 and 12, let me just tell y'all, between 8 and 12, hell likes to play around. Okay, and I'll tell you why. You got comfortable enough to say things that are on your mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But your ability, and you've also started losing sight of you and started looking at the other person more. And then that makes because that's what happens when you're trying to build, you're trying to look at them, get to know them, understand them, speak their language. There's all these things that you have to do in the beginning, and it takes over, right? Because when I first met my wife, y'all, look, I was the most quiet. I know it's hard to believe. but I was the most quiet, just like, oh yeah, most encouraging, blah blah. She'd say stuff. I'm like, that's so stupid. I understand, girl. I know exactly what you
Oh,
mean.
you were quiet
Because she
not
needed.
that's who you are, but because of
That's what she needed. That's the language she
got
understood.
it. Okay. Because I
So,
was like, I can't believe what you're saying right now. Okay.
oh no, I was
Okay. Got it.
because that was her language. Because especially with dealing with my culture, we were loud people, and she took loud as aggressive, mean, or whatever. Right? So I had to speak the language she understood. I had to instead of saying to like one of my guy friends, "Get over it, man." Okay, cool. It was more of a okay. See, what we have to do is first we have to think about why you feel the way you feel, so that we can get to the root of it. So that way, what we can do is we can really just start to get you to a positive place, because that's where you really want to be. You want to smile because you have a beautiful smile, and I love your smile. Okay, for everything though, for everything. Because that's the language. You know that's the language. Don't act like you don't know that's the language.
You have to say a sonnet for everything. A soliloquy. That's right.
But it's her language, right? And once I understood that language, then that was like cool, right? Because I'm like, now I know how to talk to her. I know how to get her to respond in a way that's going to make sense for the relationship. It just meant that I had to change things about how I talk to people. And get to understand her language better. But I speak so many languages when it comes down to people. Well, she didn't have that kind of
But that's what I was about to say. Like, did she learn your language? Okay, that's a no.
It took.
The silence speaks for itself.
It took quite a while. That's how come when I met you or whatever, she felt threatened at first because you and I speak the same language, but it's a language that she's like, what's this language? It's not the language but but especially with entertainers. Come on, we talk and don't even talk. Literally, Jules and I had lunch and we're just sitting there eating, and it's like it's the funniest thing because usually we're so talky. And I think because I think it's because we had that long interview, but which was great. It was a great interview. But but I'll tell anybody, Jules is not known for long talking, like long-term talking. Like she has to recharge after a talk. You don't plug her back in. Oh, okay. But if you give her like
you literally see the gas go.
Yeah, it's the
wow, because I have no more.
Honestly, I had not seen that in years because we had not had, we weren't doing media training and forever, we hadn't. So it was to me, that was like a flashback. It was like a throwback to the. I was like, wow, this is that look she used to have on my couch. This is that look she used to like. I was like, has it been that long, Jules? Have we been doing this that long? But it was so interesting because I remember when we go take trips or whatever, the car ride was so quiet because of all the talking that had to take place in whatever we were doing, and I forgot about that. I was like, wow. This is like when we came back from Vegas that time. And then Joe slept for like 2 days. You remember that?
That Vegas trip was epic.
Yeah, it was. And all we did was sing, y'all. There was no drinking. There was
just singing.
Sang. That was it. And then at the end of it, I'll never forget. She couldn't even move. It was like all day, just go. I'm like, but she didn't drive. She sang songs that she had already had written.
I wrote a new song.
She wrote a new song on the way out there. That's true. But it was so funny. So that's what my mind went to as I was swatting flies. Was I was like, oh yeah, this is what happens. And I was like, see, the classic Jules is still in effect if you don't get away from my food. Like. That's actually what my mind was doing at the time. Was I was sitting there like, why is this fly bugging me? And then I thought it was funny when it was bugging Jules. When it was bugging me, it just wasn't as funny, right? Because she's having talking occasionally, and then just.
That was annoying. But
yeah, it seemed to like it, but it followed you back over. So therefore, I believe it was your fly.
So I'm a flower. Wait, that's a bee. Never mind.
Yeah, see, because flies
are attracted to crap.
Yeah. So whatever you were about to say to me, that fly knew that it was nothing but crack.
Oh man, I need to work on my bowel movements. Okay. Mm.
Everything
Anyway.
on this show. Everything on this show today. Anyway, um, but yeah. So, but there comes a time when you're in these relationships where you like between month 8 and 12. Ask anybody; they'll tell you the same thing for the most part. Hell tries to break loose. Why? And the other reason is because people start to tell on themselves. Yes, they start to show their true character. And then you have to evaluate, is this a character that I can deal with? And then
For
you
the
have
rest of your life.
for especially if you're talking marriage. But see, here's the thing, right? How long, and this is the question I had to answer today, excuse me. How long do you give somebody to show you their character can change? How long do you wait for that character to change? Is it truly an investment in them, or is it or are you taking away from yourself? Are you debiting your own, wants, dreams, hopes, desires, blah blah, right? And I said, I love the way this question was phrased because
that is a good question.
Because there's always going to be a negative response to both ways you answer this, and there's always going to be a positive response to the way you answer this. I said, but I know you geared the question so that way you can always come back and say, you don't know what you're talking about. I said, so what I'm going to do, I said, because I know when someone's trying to trap me into giving them advice that they want but don't want. I said, I'm old enough to know that. So I said, here's how you evaluate. I said, when someone shows you who they are, and they tell you that they're going to change who they are, then give them the opportunity to show you that that's what they're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
Then
that's what I was gonna say. Okay.
Yeah. Then wait and see if the follow through, is there, not just the initial start. That's like taking on a business partner that says we're gonna do great things. Trust me, I know this. And then when things get going, they freak out, can't manage, and then they're gone. Just gone. Hard times hit, gone. They go right back to the previous behavior, right? And then you're just like, what happened? I thought we were changing. No, that's what. And well, I wanted to. And this is what it always amounts to. I wanted to change. I just didn't see enough. There wasn't. It was too much of an investment for me. Why don't you come and meet me where I'm at? Right? And people will show you this because it'll start happening time and time again. And then it doesn't. And then what happens is, and because this is what's happening. This is what's happening to my friend over on the East Coast right now. Is instead of the behavior disappearing or becoming less, what's happening is the behavior is changing its color. It's changing its manifestation, but it's still the same underlying behavior.
It's just camouflaging?
It's camouflaging. It's taking on a different shape. So instead of let's say instead of this is not what's happening, people, but I just got to give you an example that you can visualize. Instead of him kicking her in the head now, he's just slapping her.
Oh.
Okay, so it's still the same thing, but he's changed how it comes out. So that way, he says, see, I'm no longer kicking you in the head. I told you I would change. You changed your tactic. You didn't change the behavior. Mm-hmm. So the tactic's still the same. Like with my ex, yeah. This is how I learned to love myself, by the way, which was supposed to be today's topic, but whatever. So,
oh yeah, we never talked about our topic.
Mm-hmm. But with my ex-girlfriend, she had a way of making me feel very, very small, very, very insignificant, and she would use positive words to make that happen, right? And, yeah,
that's
it's like
pro. How do you do that?
It's like telling somebody, "Oh, you're a genius. Oh, you're just a genius." When they disapprove of everything you do.
Oh, I see. Oh, you mean sarcastically?
Well, yes, but she would do it with such finesse that you didn't even know she was being sarcastic until you like she was like, "Oh, but he's so good at everything that he does. He's really good," because I was, and everybody would say it. Mm-hmm. So when she said it, she sounded like the crowd that was saying it, right? But her thing was, she didn't the intent behind her words would after a while get to you, and you're like, I understand that you're saying it, and even the fact that she believed it was true, she just hated that it was true, so she would just tear you apart and
Oh,
make you feel.
like if you were to say like, yeah, he's good.
Or more like, oh, he's a star. He's just a star, But she made me want to do things less because of the way she reacted to the things that I did when everybody was, really happy with the things I did. I started wanting to draw back in and do less because that would make her happy. Because then her attitude would change, and stuff like that. But I didn't recognize that was happening to me. My friends kept trying to tell me, and I just couldn't see it because I was like, I'm still performing. But you're not you anymore. You're not doing it the way that you were built to do, So.
Or you're like toning it down too much, or you're changing your showmanship, or
Yeah. Yeah, instead of being all over the stage, spinning like 17 times, I was like sitting in a chair.
Maybe that's a good thing.
No, shut up. I ain't talking to you. No, but
maybe that's where all the headaches come from.
Shut up. but it's like there's this thing that it would happen, and I would just tone everything down. So that when my wife came along and she didn't like the reaction that I was getting from women when I was just singing at karaoke, forget doing a stage show, just karaoke. She didn't like it, so I started toning it down back to, because I put on a show for karaoke. Why not? And I started toning it down. And then my friend came along and said, "You gonna do this again?" I was like, do what again? He's like, so you're gonna change the part of you that makes you happy and who you are for somebody that has to learn to love you for who you are. You're gonna change that who you are part. And I was like, I didn't recognize that was happening. He said, that's what I'm here to show you, man. You blind. He said, so let me help you out. He said the one thing about people who go through the things you going through. Now, mind you, he was terrible with his own relationships. I'm gonna be honest, but he seemed to spot mine out real quick, but he said that the one thing about people who will go through these things and they start losing themselves and they don't recognize they're losing themselves. He said, B, it is very important. They never ask anybody else really to tell them what they think. They always say, this is what's going on. What should I do about this situation? They never say, what do you think overall? Because they don't want you to answer that question. They want you to solve the immediate problem so that they can go into. I said, was I doing that? He said, yes, you were. He said, because his name was Randy. Randy said, so Randy, this is what's going on. What should I do about this? And
just to fix the immediate
situation. Right. Yeah. Like, she did this. I felt this way. I don't know what I should do. What should I do? What do you think? Right? So he's like, I'm going to be a good friend. I'm just going to tell him the answer to the thing that he wants to know today. But one day he said, you know what? I'm tired of being a good friend. I'm just going to be someone who loves you. And he said, look, the entire thing is eating you up from the inside out. You just want this so bad that you're not looking at the fact that it's destroying you from the inside out. There's too much on you. And I said, but we have so many good times, rollerblading and martial arts and this, that, and the other, and blah, blah. He said, but you are still being destroyed from the inside out. You are not happy. I'm like, what's that got to do with everything else I just said? He's like, if you sit down and you look at what you have to give up to get what you think you want in this person, you're going to find out that you're not happy. And he said, and in this part of the relationship, if she's not working to make you as happy as you're trying to make her, then it's foreshadowing what your entire relationship's going to be like.
Absolutely. Yep.
And I said, didn't no one ask you to be smart today? Like this. Because
I didn't ask you. You didn't ask me.
He said, that's why I told him to tell you I'm not going to be your friend today. I'm just going to be someone who loves you. He said, because I'm sure dinner is off. I said, no, it's on. I said, oh, it's on.
I'm going to be on you.
Yeah. He said, well, I'm sure we're not going to the pizza place where we're playing pool. I said, no, I need a stick. I need a stick in my hand. He said, that's right, no pool today. But it was just, but guys can, we can talk like that, and I was now, this is something I had to tell the person on the line earlier today, because she's going through life decision making skills and all that. And I said, one thing about it is I did everything I knew how to do, and it was not meant to work. We had talked about marriage, we had talked about, being there for each other and this, that, and the other, but the behaviors did not match the words. As much as she tried, as much as she wanted, the behaviors did not match the words. But I was with this girl for 2.5 years of this. But problems started between 8 and 12. And I was like, damn. People started talking to me and tried to tell my mom, oh my God, this is now, shoot. Oh man, we're gonna go here because a lot of us have been talking about this on Yahoo. So we're just gonna talk about parents and our relationships. Okay, okay, that's what we're gonna do. My mama don't watch this show much. So she might miss this episode. But anyway, but her sister might tell her. Anyway, so here's what happens. My mom and my dad, when it came down to, let's start with my wife. My dad was not alive. My mom said she's not sure if my wife had a strong enough backbone, but she was encouraged by my wife's determination to be a good wife. To be, she wanted to know how to make me happy, how to be there for me. It wasn't just me trying to be there for her. And it wasn't just a financial thing. It wasn't just she said she could see it in her more so than my wife, the negative behaviors, the thing. My wife said, I'm going to work with this. When my wife had trouble, dealing with me being a performer, she said, let's go talk to your mom about it because she knows you as a performer. She knows that but she said, let's go, not I'm going to go. She said, let's go because this is involving both of us. And I was like, Now, as much as we promote therapy and counseling and talking it out, I was like, well, do I really have to go? I mean, I'm not the one with the problem. But I couldn't say no because she's like, let's go because I need to talk about it. And the fact that she wanted to talk about these things with me there meant that it was not something that she wanted to talk about me. She wanted to figure out a way to work with me through this thing. Right. And I'm like, that's deep. Of course, my mom had to explain it to me because I was still pretty young. I was like 20-something. So, but it was deep, So, and I appreciate that. I mean, honestly, for the first 2-3 years of our marriage, once a year, we'd have what we called a relationship checkup to make sure that we were on the same page. We had a unbiased third party. Because my mom is like me when it comes down to counseling, when it comes down to relationships. She is not biased toward me or toward the other person. She looks at the exact situation. So literally, I work with a lot of friends and their spouses, and the friends' spouses are like, "No, you'll be fair. I know you good," because they know I'll get at my friend in a hot second. Like, "Hey, look, you wrong." Well, then you're my friend. You're supposed to side with me. No, you're wrong. You know you're wrong. You know you're wrong. You know you're wrong. I'm wrong. I know. But I just have this thing where, like, look, if you wanted a fair evaluation, I'm going to give you a fair evaluation. If you're going to come to me, then you know what you're coming into. So.
Yeah. I was just having this conversation with a good friend of mine today.
Oh, today?
That kind of a person is a good friend. Not somebody who is going to be like, oh, you're totally right. Screw that person. I'm always on your side. You're always right. And blah, blah. That's not a good friend in my eyes. And I'm sure
no.
You don't want just a yes man. Like you need somebody or just people in your life who are going to tell you as it is. Like how, when you're wrong, you're wrong. When you're right, you're right. But, not biased, very subjective, just to the point. That's only because they want you to be a better person. They want you to own up to your mistakes and be able to say sorry when you're in the wrong, and when it's not, or just rectify the situation, not just like whatever you want because I'm your friend. No, that's not a good friend.
Oh, yeah, I don't believe in swimming in mess because I don't swim much anyway, so if I'm going to swim, right, it ain't going to be a mess. You see what I'm saying? I don't ski. No, anyway. But the thing is, like, so with my ex, I was with her for 2.5 years. My mom said, now this is the thing that got me, my mom and my dad. My mom said, I think you can do better. And I was like, no, first off, I'm a grown man. You always think I can do better.
Mm-hmm.
I know what I need. I see you right here next to me. Okay? Yeah, there's problems, but we can work through the problems. You don't know. You know, I think the reason why our relationship lasted for 2.5 years is because my mother said. And my mother's not one to comment on relationships much either. See, that's the other thing too. So when she felt the need to tell me that she thinks I can do better, she doesn't believe that this one is the right one for me, and that I need to, and I was like, well, now back when I, was dating this one, I was pretty young, but back then everybody was getting married around 19, 18,
What?
18. Yeah, most people I knew was getting married around no older than 22.
No.
Oh,
that
yeah.
is nowhere near no.
So, people were still getting married right out of high school, but there were jobs, where they could really literally start a family and live right when I graduated high school. So I'm not that old, y'all, but it wasn't that long ago. It wasn't that long ago, okay? But I noticed though when I was doing a little research for something else, but in that 4 years between the time I graduated high school and the freshman class graduated, there were so many things had changed socially, and so many things had changed in the just in the media space and everything, that people were no longer trying to get married in their early 20s. They were trying to wait till they were like 30 some odd years old to get married and start families and this and the other, because things had started to change in terms of people's view of relationships. But that's around the time when 90210 was kicking off, Melrose Place had really started taking off, and all these other things started really hitting. So. So yeah, it was a good time. It was a good time, kind of. So anyway, me and my ex were together for 2.5 years, and like I said, the hardest thing was when my parents came to me and said, "We don't believe this is the one for you. We think that." That you can do better for yourself because of the kind of person that you are and who you are and how we see you and stuff like that. And that was not what I wanted to hear. But I decided to go back, and this is after, of course, the breakup and everything, because I wasn't going back during or anytime near the actual relationship happening. But I went back and actually asked, what made them come to this conclusion? What was the reason that they felt this way? And how did they know that this would not work out? Because one thing they never said was they never thought that me and my wife would not work out. They just had concerns about if tough times came. But they never thought, for instance, that we would not work out. So I found that very interesting. So I was like, what did they see? What did they see that I missed, or whatever? And it basically came down to, they were really good at observing my behavior when I was interacting with this person. They realized that there was more going one way than the other. My mother said, you care more for her than she does for you. And that really kind of threw me, because I'm like, well, we're in this relationship together. How can she care more? How can she care less for me than I do for her when we go through all these things together? She said, if you look like the way I looked, if you looked at how you guys interacted, if you looked at how you were always wanting to be there for her, care for her, make sure she was happy, whatever. She said when she did those things for you, it was the motive was not as pure. And she said, and you could tell. And after a while, I started to realize, she might have known what she was talking about, but I just didn't want to. I didn't want to acknowledge it at the time. But for those of you, because
how far along the relationship were you when she said that to you?
8 and 12. 8 and 12. But my mother had told us when we were growing up. She said people are always going to tell on themselves. After the 3rd month, they start telling on themselves. She said, but the hardest thing for people to do, she said, is change their behavior. She said because who they are is who they plan on being, especially after a certain age, unless they are convinced that a change needs to happen to acquire what they want. If you are worth it, they will change what needs to change to make sure that they are the best thing for you. She said this girl was not willing to change. She said she was not asking God to help her change. She was not looking for God. She was looking at you, but she was not looking at what was going to help her change it to what you needed. She wanted you to be what she wanted, but she was not trying to be what you needed. And I said, she said,
That's
but
deep.
she said, but she said, but you weren't going to listen to me because I told you that. She said, but if I had never told you, then I wouldn't have been a good parent. She said, so she said, and that's the issue. So 2.5 years later, she said, and the only question she asked me when we broke up, she said, did you sleep with her? And I said, no. She said, in 2.5 years, you never slept with this girl. She said, I said, no. She said, see that? She said, I knew it. She said, hey, as your pastor, I'm so proud of you. She said, you were a good man, blah, blah, blah. She said, but as your mama, she said, any woman that's not trying to jump you after X amount of time because she said, she wasn't after you. She didn't want you. She said, you should have had to beat her off with a stick. Like, no, I told you, no. She had me cracking up so, because my heart was broken. I mean, I was just devastated. And she was just cracking me up. She's like, well, she said, look, she said, in all honesty, you would have regretted sleeping with her. It would have torn you apart because she was not willing to become what you need, which was a helpmate. And yet she wanted you to become the head of her household. So,
oh, she did?
Well, at one point, yeah, because she saw that I had I was going to say the power, but yeah, basically I had all these things that made her popular. So she wasn't willing to become for me, but she wanted me to be these things for her.
Basically, you're her arm candy or side piece.
Yeah.
What's the word? Arm candy?
Yeah, kind of arm candy, but really I was just her way.
A trophy husband?
Yeah, I was her way in. So, but the thing is like, but she didn't like, she liked the attention. Like, usually when people in our industry date, they don't like the attention. They like the privacy. They like to be off in the, like my wife. My wife is not really keen on being in the forefront, but at the same time, she's not afraid of it. She's like, hey, hey, this is what you do. That's what we do. Let's go. But she's not out there talking about, don't talk about me. Don't say this. Don't say that. Hey, look, A, I'm going to be a pastor one day, so that's off the table anyway. B, our life story is our testimony. Now shut up and deal with it. No, but it is just. But when my mom came to me with all this stuff, it was, I mean, like I said, 8 and 12. Hard time, and I remember that because she used to tell us after the 3rd month, she said people start to tell themselves in terms of behavior. You get into your first couple fights, you get into your first little disagreements, you start trying to figure out how to cope and how to match. Like, oh, we're back in love again, blah, 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 right? But then there's still always this underlying thing. I mean, she was telling us that's when we were teenagers, right? Then there's still this underlying thing about like, oh, but if you do it again, oh, this can't happen again. But if this comes up again, it's closer to the surface this time, so I can spring on you quicker now, But she said, there's this underlying pressure because now they don't reveal something that's got you like, what? Where did this come from? I didn't see this in month 1, 2, or 3. Why on month 3 and then plus 2 days do you want to show your? Well, she had some phrases, right? So and then, oh man, she said, so she really got us prepared, And I'm so grateful that when I got older that because I was more aware of how I was feeling at certain points. Like, when you want to get them, you forget I understand what you're saying and blah, blah, you go straight to I'm going to take your neck and ring your head with it. Like, I'm just going to ring your head like I just got you now. I got you. What you said was stupid. What you did was stupid. I'm about to show you what stupid looks like, but from a different angle. Watch me become you right now. Stupid. No, like it was just.
Damn. I like those lines. I'm going to use it.
No.
Watch me.
But it's just all this. Just all these things that happen, when you're, oh my God, 8 and 12, trust a brother. 8 and 12. Fifth month, my wife wanted to marry me, but she still didn't want me to really have to deal with her family because she still wanted to hide me away from her family because she was afraid they would not accept me. And so I was still playing the role of the she met my family and all this other stuff, but at the same time, it wasn't equal on both sides. She was still trying to be one way around her family and another way around my family. I was like, what is this? What the hell is this? Right? So it's okay for me. Like I was like, so let me get this straight. It's okay. I'm just putting it all out there today. But it's like, it's okay for you to come stay at my house. Your dad know you at my house because he says you're an adult. You're going to do what you're going to do, and whatever. But then I kicked you out of my house so that we can get things the way it needs to be. But my family know you here. They say, you know what? You guys are going to get this right. And we love you. Blah, blah. But, but you don't want this whole other side to know anything about our relationship or where we are or whatever. It's a whole different set of rules because you want to appear a certain way. But yet, before you even met me, these things were already, like, people already knew some things that were going on. But now because it's me, because they're, it made me feel like crap. I was like, well, you know what? We're at a dinner party that my brother's throwing for us. My mom is there, so everybody can spend more time to get to know you. And you're still acting like, although you love me and you can see building a future with me, because come on, she's talking about marrying me 5 months into the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And that's about actually, to be honest, that's about the time people start talking about it, 4 or 5, because they feel like, oh, wow, this is exactly what I've been looking for. I mean, yeah, there's some issues, but, we can talk our way through that. We can work our way through that, blah, blah, blah. But yet, and still, there's a double standard. Is this how it's always going to be? I'm starting to ask these questions to myself because I'm like, I've been through this crap before, with the things not being balanced or whatever. Okay, so let's figure out how to get this right. Meanwhile, my mom's on one side talking to me. She's like, well, Dean, you have to keep even from the appearance of doing evil. She can't be staying with you. Now, I love her. I think she's wonderful. I think great. But you can't do this to her. This is not fair to her for you to allow her to be at your house, because then she's going to think that the things that you talk about, the things that you help others with, doesn't apply to her because she's with you. I'm like, true that. Okay. Okay.
Question. What you were saying about what she, her not telling only her mother?
Well,
Like
the whole side, because basically she went to school closer to where I lived, right? So by the time she got out of school, it would have been a much longer drive for her to go back to her dad's house, which was like 3-4 cities away, right? So it made sense for her to stay at my house, on at least on those days, so that she wouldn't be driving so late at night, blah blah, tired, whatever, right? Which is easy, right? And then but when it came down to like the bulk of my wife's family that she interacts with is on her mom's side of the family, and so she didn't let anybody in on our relationship on that side of the family for the most part. So the only thing that they ever really knew in the beginning of the relationship was that I was this guy who the mom did not approve of, who was corrupting the daughter, and then there was no interaction to say otherwise, because. You see what I'm saying? Because
so like you never like came around to that side of the family and then like interacted with them and get to know them and them get to know you.
Right, like because right, that really didn't happen too much, or it was just one of those things where by the time the assumptions had already been in place, then they were just already there. Because she never refuted them. She never said anything like, because it was her decision to come stay with me. I didn't invite her to come stay. She said, "Can I? Is this okay?" Blah, blah. I'm like, cool. But see, for me, now, people who have to understand, I've always had female friends. So people coming to stay at my house was never a big deal for me. They'd sleep on my couch. They'd sleep on my sofa bed. Some would just lay beside me in bed while we watch TV, fall asleep, whatever. It was just normal for me. But I never thought about it in the girlfriend context, and that's usually what got me in trouble, is I always treated my girlfriends like my friends. Oh man, there was an intervention about that one day. But the thing is so for me, it's like, cool, you can stay here, no problem, whatever. Well, her dad wasn't happy about it, but he also didn't want her falling asleep on the road.
Mm-hmm.
So he was like, plus you're an adult, so ultimately you got to make your own decisions so that you can, see what works for you, what doesn't, what's right, what's wrong. But he's like, but I'm always praying for you. So his approach and my mother's approach were pretty much the same approach, so that way, by the time I say, you know what, they're right. We can't be, living like we're married and not be married. It just doesn't make any sense. And since I already want to marry you, then we got to get this other part right first.
Mm-hmm.
You
Right.
know. So then I had to eliminate, because girl, we have these games we like to play. So I had to. I'm watching people literally talk about, don't say that, D. Don't break it down like that, D. You just get away all the excuses. But we talked about reasons and excuses. My wife, she would come by after school, knowing it was already late, and say, well, is it okay if I just stay here because I am tired and blah, 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 and it'd just be easier. Right? I said, no, you can't stay here. I was like, but, and this is one thing that I thought was really funny. I said, but I'll call my mom because you might be able to just crash at her house tonight because she's at least closer than going over to your dad's house. And I'm sure she won't mind because I've already talked to her about it. Like, no, it's okay. I'll just travel all the way home.
Well, yeah, it's awkward.
No, but it's not like she had never crashed at my mom's before. You know what I'm saying? This one
Was that you there?
Hey, yeah. No, she never did. But
Exactly, that's weird.
right, but she was looking for it to be safe. So I used all the logic. You want to be safe. You want to be with somebody who's gonna love, who's not gonna misuse you, mistreat you, whatever. And yet you can't stay here because of the appearance of doing evil, because we've already talked about this. So let me come up with another solution that's gonna satisfy both needs: not the far drive and not being here. Oh, you remember the thing about the girl picking me up and stuff like that? Yeah, I think this hit her a little more because I was basically saying, you can't stay here.
Oh, the girlfriend what a picking you up thing, that was with your wife?
Oh, yeah.
That was with your wife.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So,
that's a good one.
So, anyway, this 8 and 12-month thing, I'm telling you guys, look, you're going to see the character start to reveal itself even more. And you have to figure out, can you deal with this character or not? And because there's somebody for everybody. Now, don't get it twisted. The girl that, didn't match well with me, she's still married, as far as last I heard, to this other guy who could deal with her. But he had qualities, I think, that made her have to respect him more than she respected me, because she thought that my talent made things come too easily for me. So she didn't have to see me work. She didn't, even when I was rehearsing every day or whatever, it didn't matter, because to her it was too easy.
You were just having fun.
Right.
You weren't actually working. You were just.
Right.
Yeah.
Or I reaped so many benefits from that work that she would have to, work a lot longer to accomplish or whatever. But anyway, you want to be careful, in this section, like while everybody's hearts are being tested, while everybody's going through the things they're going through, because that issue of the heart thing is real. That's what's leading the person to talk about suicide. That's what's making people say that they're nothing without their sight, or nothing with this handicap, or they're starting to lose their vision of themselves. And you have to be careful how you evaluate your importance when you're in the middle of these situations. So today we talked a lot about relationships, but that's because, well, romantic relationships are the easiest things to use as an example, because everybody kind of had some version of these experiences, in some shape, form, or fashion. Me, I was just lucky enough to go through them all.
Congratulations, you should get.
Thank you. I made it through, girl. I made it through. But like somebody asked me again after I told them all these stories earlier today. They asked me, "How long have you been married again?" I said, "We're on year 12." But we've been together 14 years. I said, now, I said, the one thing that I had to really think about was the fact that my mom knew that my wife was going to be a good woman for me, even if she had a few questions about her strength and stuff. But she also knew that the girl that I was with before my wife, was not going to be good for me. She said, that girl is going to basically destroy you, and you don't even recognize it because it's hurting you on the it's hurting you from the inside and it's starting to affect your outside, right? And then I'm like, ooh, okay, but that was mom, so I'm not really listening until it happens. But then I looked at when I was talking to my mom when I was getting ready to get married, when I was thinking about marrying my wife. I said, now who do I ask permission to marry? Because her mother raised her, but her father is in her life. Mm-hmm. Who do I talk to? She said, talk to the father. She said, because us mothers, when it comes to our daughters, we have a whole different view. She said,
oh, yes.
She said, but fathers can judge a man, especially if the father is a good man. If he fears God, if he loves God, then she says, so if you want somebody who's going to evaluate you for the man you are and what you can add to someone's life, then talk to the dad. That's
very true.
I said,
wise words, mother. Wise words.
I said, okay, so I talked to.
But I mean, that's on the same line as like when you're having issues with a guy, you don't want to go to a girlfriend, unless the girlfriend has a husband or a boyfriend that they can also talk it out and ask questions or whatever. But you always want to get a male perspective because women don't think like men most of the time. We are weird. So this is a different situation, but
like we as in us or we as in you women?
No, we as in Innermix. We're just we're weird. Like we are like literally half of
Yeah,
anyway.
You complete me.
Cheese ball. Anyway. So yeah, I whenever like in the past too, like if I ever had an issue with a boyfriend or I'm going through something or like I don't understand or whatever, then I would ask a male opinion because they know how each other think. Women will be like, well, what do you think? We dissect everything. Like, well, he said this, and da-da-da-da-da. What did he say after that? Oh, I wonder what he meant by that. I think he meant by this. Oh, blah, blah, blah. We like create scenarios with like, intro and middle and outro and da-da-da-da. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Which is really fun to watch because when you ask a woman about another woman, she says, oh, that's what she means. There's no beginning, middle, and outro. It's just no, that's what she means. She's not even intending to do that for you. But she's smiling though, huh? She's smiling. I know she's smiling, but she don't mean it. She don't mean none of that stuff she said.
Leave her.
Leave her. Yeah. Real quick. They don't even go back and explain it. See, that's the other thing. Men will take time for a minute and explain. Look. When a man says this, right? This one, like women, they do it a completely different way. No, leave her. She ain't good for you. She gonna break you up. She gonna tear you up. Watch. And that's it. That's the advice. That's it. There's no scenario. There's no. Well, why do you think that? Look. Okay. Look. Did you do this for her? Well, yeah. Did she do anything remotely like that to you? Well, no. What did she say when you did that for her? Well, she said thank you. How did she say thank you? Well, she kind of just said thank you. Oh no. No, leave her.
Like, exactly. Precisely. Yes.
As I listened to that in my head as I was saying it, I'm like, this is so true. Like, this is really how they do it. There's variations, but basically that's it. But yeah. So you want to know how, like, because I can picture this already with my daughter, her bringing me this guy who she thinks is just incredible. And I say, he ain't it. Not because I'm the daddy, because, really, I want to marry my daughter off. Not because
please.
No, but that's because so it's for a father, and this is the whole thing. When a daughter gets married off, that means that she has found someone who wants to love her more than a father can. Because a father can only do so much for you in your life, but this person is going to be part of you for the rest of your life, and they are going to love you. So our requirements for this man is going to be that, something that we can't do as fathers. You know what I'm saying? Like, he has to be able to love you and touch a part of you that we can't reach as your father. And as your father, we can reach almost every part of your heart except for the romantic part. And the romantic part, the part that says that I want to be joined with this person for the rest of my life, because as your father, you should outlive me anyway, right? So I can't be joined with you for the rest of your life, per se. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not taking this vow with you. Okay, my vow was to protect you and raise you up to understand that God is, But after that, baby, I'm checked out. I'm here when you need me, but other than that, I'm not the one who's gonna walk. I'm not the one walking this road with you. But there's gonna be a man that wants to walk this road with you, good, bad, happy, sad. They're gonna want to do that because of who you are to them. And they're going to want to become what you need the same way you're going to want to become what he needs. But it's not going to be just that, look, just deal with me how I am. This is how I am. That's not, that's not going to work.
Nope.
Right? So fathers zone in real quick. Like, what the first thing a father can spot it? Wait, hold on. I'm not going to, wait.
I just you already said it. You got to say it.
Fathers are really good at spotting certain behaviors in potential mates for their daughters. Okay, and the reason I know this is because I've been part of the discussions where we automatically, it's like something happens where you just have this new intelligence gathering system in behavior because you know what you were like as a young man. Then you add in cultural changes and differences that you've observed. Then you throw in the value that you've placed on your daughter. Then you also throw in the, just a few other little things that we're not going to go into. But let's just say there's another evaluation. Well, the first thing that fathers zero in on right away is when someone looks too comfortable with their child, right? Okay? When they look too comfortable, they're like, oh, so how close have you been with my daughter? How close? Oh, not good. Guys who try too hard to look comfortable, which is the funniest thing because you don't recognize how hard you look and how hard you try to look comfortable. But I've seen, it is the funniest thing in the world because me and my father-in-law, like he said, you know why I wasn't really, threatened by you, D? He said because you were so into my daughter that you were comfortable with me. Like you weren't trying to impress me. You just told me that you loved her. And that, and then when I saw it, so I kept inviting you guys over for barbecues and stuff so I can really get to see the man that you are. And every time I met you, I was just more impressed. He said, but you didn't try to impress me. You brought her to me because they were kind of estranged for a while. I said, no, you got to go spend that with your father. So he was like, but you weren't trying. He said, I've seen the triers, and I've seen the ones who overcompensate, and I've seen the ones that are just a little too comfortable. And he said, but you were just you. And that's really hard for guys because guys are taught you got to be a certain way in each situation. Being yourself is not enough, right? I was tired. I had that 2.5-year relationship. This is the ABCs of me, baby. Black, blind, broke out. No, but this is me. So I remember by the end of the first time I met her dad, we were singing gospel songs together, just hanging out, chilling. But fathers can spot tempers. Especially if they have tempers. Like,
oh yeah.
Like my father-in-law, he said, I know you probably had a temper back in your day, huh? I said, oh yeah. He said, me too. But because I had no problem talking about it, he's like, you're okay. I wasn't like, oh, no, never, Because I'm telling you, if you've gone through something, you can spot it on somebody else. You want to know if somebody has hoish tendencies? Talk to a hoe. I remember I had this, I knew this stripper, right? Because I was doing interviews and stuff with her for this project I was doing in college. And she's like, strippers can spot strippers from a mile away. She said, we can. I don't know why. It's just we can. Like, this girl walking by. She a stripper. I bet you if I go ask her if she's a stripper, she's going to tell me where she worked. And I'm like,
that's hilarious.
I'm like, for real? No, she's not a stripper. Girl, where you strip at? Oh, I strip at the such and such club.
Find me on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Yeah, I was blown. Like my mind was blown away because I'm like, how do you spot that? You know, how do you, it's
Maybe
like
it's in the strut.
I don't know if it's in the strut. I don't know, girl. I just don't know. It's like, but I can identify people who have vision issues. I can identify people who have muscle issues. I can identify that muscle issues like nothing, But it's just, I guess you just train yourself. But dads recognize intent
Mm.
quickly. They recognize desperation. Like fathers, oh, one of the big things. Fathers do not want their babies, their girls, because those will always be babies. I don't care how old you are, you always a baby, especially if you're a girl. But but they do not want their girls with desperate men because that means that she will be taking care of him for the rest of his life, but he won't be able to take care of her. He's looking for a mommy, not a wife. And it was a guy in church that told me that was saying that, and because he was teaching his sons, don't be so desperate to be with somebody that you become somebody looking for her to become your mama. Because I was like, oh man, that's just deep. I've never heard that
Me
before.
neither.
But no, you so desperate, you so gone that you want her to take care of you. Everything's about her and how she does and what she does. It's not ever about what you do and how you do. And because you just. But fathers will peep this out so quick, and they're like, no, he's not the one. He's not strong enough for you. He's not. And he's not even looking to change these things. Like my wife, like I said, they said she wasn't strong enough. But then she said, oh, but I'm praying and I'm going to change. I am changing. And she didn't just say, I'm going to change. See, this is the thing about my wife. She said, okay, where do I start? What do I do? So she started meeting with my mom said, well, girl, we can talk things out. We can, okay, what today is good for you? And my wife with the book and the calendar, boom. Mm-hmm. This is before the smartphone, y'all. That's how long ago this was. Boom, before iPhone even came out. Boom, right? And she's like, okay, when's a good day for you? My mom was so shocked because this girl had her planner, everything on her desk ready to go. She's like, when can we start? Because I need to get this part right. I need to know how to do this. My mom had to reach in her desk like she was really, putting her stuff away and get ready to go. Like, yeah, of course, no problem. Because, people always say they want to do stuff, but they never really just set a plan. My wife said, boom, okay, so what do you want to do? My wife my mother had to reach into her desk, had to pull everything back out. Well, let me see, girl, okay. And then she saw how anxious my wife was. She said, so she just moved her up. And but it was so cute. I had never, ever been with somebody who was that concerned about making sure that they were where they needed to be so that it would work between us. I had never seen that in all people that I ever dated. And it moved me. I'm not saying everything was easy and peachy keen after that, but I'm saying, but her.
But I think that's a quality that you need to look for in a mate, because it's not about whether or not you're perfect, because nobody is perfect. But it's all about.
Girl.
Oh, right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, like you. You're perfect.
Can I talk? Yeah. Okay. Oh, I know. Well, that just goes without saying. Hello. Why do you have to mention that? Duh. But it's about the willingness of the other person to strive to be better and to strive to be the person that, like what Dee was saying, like the person that they need, that you need. So like, let's say, oh, I cannot cook. But, my boyfriend, husband, to be whatever, wants food. Like, we can't afford to eat out every single day, every single meal. Okay, then I need to learn how to cook so that we will be fed. Like not because he's telling me you gotta cook, but because I want to, it has to come out of me, like, naturally, that I want to do this and I want to get better at it and I want to feed, love to him and blah, 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 and, like, whatever. And I know I always talk about food. I don't know why. But anyway, but it's just a good analogy. Food goes with everything.
That sure does, girl. Food and relationships, girl. Food and relationships.
Yeah. That's what we happy life.
Yeah. Until it has to come out.
Oh, yeah. So anyway,
but yeah, it is it is one of those things where it is very important to really look at these these points. Like I used to call them always checkpoints, like because I like to play video games. So I was always thinking checkpoints, you get more time to do the next steps to get to the next place, and yet time is still running. So you need to make sure that you recognize your checkpoint and that you adapt for what's coming ahead. You know, you prepare yourself that, oh, there's gonna be some twists and turns up here. Remember that racing game that everybody liked to play at the little arcades where you sit in the seat and then I forgot you
Oh
drive
yeah.
through all San Francisco and all that. So man, that game took your money so quick, but you always wanted to play it again because you're like, well, I didn't know that was coming up. But after a while, you just get used to the patterns in the game and stuff. You recognize, okay, I'm at a checkpoint. Things are about to switch up. I need to be prepared and keep my eyes open so I don't crash and spin out and lose all control. Because that's what happens when, like I said, 8 through 12, somewhere in that 8 through 12 gap, you know, that's when things get real. They start to get more serious because you're like, doggone, I just invested 8 to 12 months into this thing.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're looking at your investment time and dollars. Okay, now that's really what we do. That's when we get caught up. Can we be real? Can we be real? Let's be real. Look.
That's 200. Okay.
Let's be okay. Look. I love the way you said that. But we look at how much time we just invested in your butt, right? So, and we like, oh, you know, there's so many wonderful, great qualities about you. And when I take my hands off of around your neck, we'll talk about those. But right
Eventually
now,
get there.
yeah, we'll talk about those in a minute. But I ain't seen those in so long since this last thing you did. You know, like that really just shook me because we get very like, oh, man, this 8 to 12 month period. I don't know why I can't get out of it, but something must be going on right now where decisions have to be made. Okay, because this road ain't easy, and there's no and I'm not gonna say there's no telltale signs, but there are telltale signs that we either want to look at or duck dodge it completely. Right? I was a duck dodge completely person myself. 2.5 years. Thank you very much. Okay. You know, I'm just gonna be real with y'all. I'm duck dodging. I was making excuses. I was making adaptations to my own rules to make sure that the person was. I was just losing the foundation of who I was without even recognizing I was losing the foundation. Look, I stopped acting for a period of time. I stopped until they came and got me at my house. You hear me? I stopped performing for a period of time because she just was so, you know, it was just draining. It was draining. I was performing and I was dealing with this, but everything that we did had to have rehearsal attached to it. So I had to rehearse and I just didn't have time because I was doing all this other stuff. I started working at a newspaper. I started doing all those crazy things. I was tired, right? Of the pressure, and I realized that most of the pressure I was under was normal for me, except for this new pressure of her, right? And I was like, what's throwing me off right now? What's really throwing me off? Because this other stuff, I was doing that fine anyway. I was okay. I was paying my bills. I was, you know, picking up, you know, I was working at regular jobs just so I could meet new people, have new experience, new stuff to write about, really, right? And so I worked at a brick factory at one point. I was working at a newspaper. I was working as a telemarketer just so I could talk to more people. And I never sold the paper, really. I was really just talking to them about their lives.
Oh, no.
You know, so the next paper I went to was a whole different thing. They wouldn't put me on the phones anymore because apparently my reputation had preceded me. I was counseling on their time, but but they liked it. They didn't care so much. It was just that, you know, people would listen to the calls from time to time, and they weren't licensed to have these kind of things. It was weird. But anyway, so I worked at a hotel for a while, but I was working regular jobs, and I was, you know, putting in these really crazy days, then going to rehearsals, then going to performances, and doing all this kind of stuff. And the only thing that really changed was her. Now, mind you, when I met her, I was doing these things anyway.
Yeah. So wait, she changed?
Month 8 through 12. Let's jump to 8 through 12. She started to, because she got comfortable, you know, thinking, you know, because I was making a lot of extra. I was canceling. Okay, real talk. I was canceling rehearsals so I could go spend time with her, so that she would feel like she was included. I was neglecting just a lot of different things so I could go spend time with her, but then she kind of got used to me doing that. So when I started saying that I couldn't do that anymore, she was, you know, she was not as understanding, right? And so there became a kind of a strain, I mean, a real big strain. Because, yes, you got to make time for people, and I understood that, but I think I overdid it, is what I really think. I felt, and to be honest, I felt guilty. I felt guilty because I had so many other things I had to do. I didn't feel like I was giving her time or whatever. So I felt like I need to do this so that she sees that I'm invested in this, that, and the other. So I was doing a lot of that kind of stuff. And then I was also training for martial art competition at the time. So we picked up this activity we like to do together, which was martial arts. Because I believe that in a relationship, if you pick up a sporting activity that you both like to do, it kind of gets rid of all the physical, ailments and whatever. Up until now, but I up until I started going over martial arts strategy with her, she disagreed with something I said. Now, and I recently had a flashback to this off another conversation I had, but but it was the most innocent thing. But all of a sudden, it just turned into World War III on the way to the competition because I'm like, wait, I was just saying this. You should do this as opposed to this, so that way when they come in, you can counter punch and get your point. No, because if you do an inside block, you can reach over. No, I'm just saying, yes, arm block is necessary, but do it toward the outside. You open them up, and you'll get the same result, different tactics, right? But I knew her abilities, so I was like, so this will work better for you. You think you know so much about everything, but you don't know anything about anything. We were happy when we started this conversation. We were excited to get ready to go beat up on people. What happened? Where did
Maybe
I go
she
wrong?
needed to be angry to go beat up on people.
She lost. And then our instructor said, if you had have done an inside block, an outside block, opened them up and punched, you'd have got it. But you wanted to bring his fist in towards you, and your arms are not strong enough to push him all the way away because you're slow on your move on the outside. She just
was fighting a dude?
Well, it was a girl, but we don't say him, whatever. So, man, Jules, all she did was look at me. Like,
just starts coming out of her eyes, right?
Yeah, just like, so now you think that you're right about everything. I was like, but we had gotten in the car because I won. Okay, first off. Not a good thing, apparently, because I won my bout. Whatever, it was cool. But she did not like the fact that the instructor told her the same thing I told her. So we get in the car. I'm putting my medals, I have my medals and whatever. I'm putting them into the little thing or whatever. So you think you're right about everything, don't you? Everything. So I'm just always wrong? Is that what? What? Baby, we're about to go out and celebrate with the team because no, I don't feel like it. I want to go home.
Because she lost. She's being a sore loser.
Man, I was like, what happened? Like, so when people tell me different things, like with this girl I talked to earlier today, when she tells me different things, I'm like, I've gone through so much. How am I still sane? Like, because all these things bring back these memories that you put them somewhere, you're like, I'm sure I'm never going to need that. I'd have never thought about the, thing until you think about random fights that start for no reason. Go. And I've had one with everybody I've dated.
I think it just happens. I think that's very normal. I've heard of so many stories too.
Oh, it's normal.
And for the most part, I think the reason why, it's not necessarily the situation that you're fighting about. It always, you could be fighting about Skittles. No green is better. No red is better. No green is better. No red. You can fight about the stupidest. I said red or green. I didn't even bring up blue.
No. I know. Go ahead.
Oh. Okay. See? What are you talking about? There's no blue. I need stupid. It's so stupid talking about freaking Skittles. But it's not about the actual subject matter that is the big issue. Sometimes it is, but for the most part, there's a bigger issue that's always underlining that spawns all the other stupid little issues or stupid little conversations. There's the big issue. That's what you guys both, or everybody in the, who's in a relationship that's fighting, need to focus on that part. And a lot of people, I think, get scared to
address the big
that
issue.
deep. Yeah, because it's too much, or it's like, that's too personal, or that's just too big of a situation, or I don't know how to fix it, so I'm just gonna forget about it, or like, I've heard so many stories about stuff like that. Like I've talked to a lot of people about like, so what do you guys fight about? I talk to a lot of married couples because I'm curious on how their conversations go. I
Uh-huh.
like some of my best friends and like some of my church people that I know, and like there's a lot of families, and these on the surface everybody seems really happy, right?
Uh-huh.
I'm always like, I wonder what they fight about. I wonder what they fight about. I wonder, because I'm sure they fight. Everybody fights a little bit, whether it be little tips or whether it be big,
I'm trying to think of what we fight about. Go ahead, girl.
whatever
I'm
stuff.
trying to figure it
But
out now.
but little tips
Yeah,
here and there. They
but
always
I
come
feel,
in, but then a lot of times those little tips are stupid.
that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, what do we tiff about really? Like, I'm sure there's something. I just
Yeah.
don't really know. I'm sure there is. I'm gonna have to ask
You
because I
probably
really don't.
forget because it's insignificant.
It's, or because we just handle it on the spot, so it's not something that
Hmm.
drags out over a period of time. Because I don't believe in that dragging things out thing.
Right. Then
Um,
I think that's very important that you don't sit in it or sit on it
I
or
told you I don't
whatever
swim in
for
mess,
too long.
girl. I don't swim, so I don't swim in mess. Definitely, I don't. When I like to swim, I swim with the smooth, cool waters of love. But anyway,
I'm going to throw up.
you're welcome. But so you guys, as you go through these little challenges in relationships, don't read the title of what this is about because that's next week. But, but but as you go through what in this 8 to 12 month period, okay, first off, rest assured you are not by yourself when
Mm.
you recognize these things, because for some reason when somebody else is failing in class and they're getting a D and you realize you got one, at first you thought you felt all alone. You saw that big D on your paper, you saw that big old D, and then somebody said, dang, I got a D. You're like, ooh. Okay. Not so bad then you find out half the class pretty much didn't make it. You're like, oh, I'm average. Fantastic. At least I got a high D. You see how we just start saying that to ourselves? At least I was almost a C. Yeah, I was a terrible D. That was a low D.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But when you find out that you're not by yourself, it does something to help you get up and get moving. You know what I mean? Like it just helps you. A D's bad anyway, but whatever. But then, but the thing is look for, even with all the jokes and the laughing, look for the quality of what you're actually getting. Like when you're talking about your relationships and stuff, you got to look at not only what it's doing to you, but you have to look at what it's going to do for you. Because if you don't see an upside to what's happening in your life, you see more of the same cycle, and you don't see any change or any improvement. That's what happened to me. My relationship got stuck in this place. In my mind, things were getting so beautiful and better. We were moving closer to marriage and this, that, and the other, blah, blah. Right?
Blah blah.
Blah, blah. And then when I was hurt and I was in my room and I was just thinking about stuff and I was trying to figure out like what I'm going to do and what decision I need to make, I was really good. Oh my God, I'm good at just talking myself back into, no, everything's okay. This is normal. This just happens to everybody. Like, y'all should live in my head for a minute, especially back then. You'd be like, wow, this is like a little teen soap opera, But it's just more dramatic because I was older. But but it was kind of like that. You're like, I'm talking to so and so and so and so, but they just don't understand, and I just don't. What should I do? And and when you live by yourself, you have too much time to do that. You're like, what should I do? I mean, I know what they said is right, but I really can't listen to that because they just don't understand. Like, okay, hold on. So then your friend calls, or my friend called, Randy called, like, are you sitting there just thinking about stupid stuff again? Like, it's not stupid, Randy. This is something I really have to deal with. So, because I have to figure out what I'm going to say to her next time I see her. I got to figure out what I'm going to do because blah, blah. He's like, yeah, you deal with that. I'll talk to you later. Because he's like, you're not going to listen to nobody. So, whatever. But I spent a lot of time thinking. And then my mentor, because he was the one who made me start to listen, by the way, because he saw from the beginning of the relationship, and I used to bring her around all the time to the studio, whatever, and he said, D, I'm going to ask you a question. I don't want you to think about the answer. I just want you to answer the question. He said, do you see yourself being any happier with this person than you are right now? And I said, It's possible. He said, no, no. Do you see it right now? Do you see it? I was like, well, I mean, maybe. I don't really know how to evaluate that. He's like, let me ask you another question. Are you happy right now? Are you truly happy, or are you adjusting constantly? I'm like, but it's a good relationship. He's like, D, when you are truly happy, when you're in a relationship that makes you truly happy, even when hell is breaking loose, you will still be able to say, I'm happy in my relationship. He said, and I'm telling you this as somebody who's lived 50 some odd years and blah, blah. He said, you are not happy. He said, you know how to make things work. You are a survivor, but you're not happy. He said, and there's a difference between being a survivor and being happy. He said, because everybody wants your relationship, but nobody's looking at what it's doing to you. I was like, I thought everything was good. He said, how much time do you think about what went wrong in your relationship? I was like, well, I do spend a lot of time thinking about all the crap that's going on. He's like, I'm not even saying she's a bad person, but she's not making you happy. And then I came out with the stupidest comment ever. I remember this because he told me how dumb it was. But relationships aren't always about being happy.
Oh.
Well, come on, we're kind of taught that, It's not always going to be peaches and cream. It's not always going to be roses and rainbows. It's not always going to be roses and rainbows.
True.
Right. We're always told that, right? He said happy has nothing to do with the situations you're in. Happy is a state of being because of who you are with, or because of what you know about yourself, or because of the God you serve. So when you're talking about, because I guess I've been talking about possibly getting engaged to her and all that. He said, when you're talking about spending the rest of your life with somebody, he said, people are going to let you do what you're going to do. He said, but I'm going to talk to you real quick and ask you, are you happy? Does this person make you feel as though you could be happy with this person for the rest of your life? Do you trust her with your life like that?
With your happiness.
With your happiness, with who you are, like that. My response, again, because I like to not answer questions directly, was, well, we still have some growing to do. It was a very intelligent answer. We still have some growing to do. We still are learning about each other. We have things we're going to go through, blah, blah. But I will tell you this. He was right because my wife and I went through some crazy stuff, but I was happy with her. Even when I was thinking about not staying with her because of my own insecurities or because of blah, blah, I was truly happy with her. Like, I understand, it doesn't make any sense. The stuff she did to me at times was just nerve-wracking, but if anybody ever tried to speak ill or try to come against me in that one, she was part of me, and I couldn't explain it. The other one, we did a lot of things that were in common. We made each other smile and laugh a lot, but was I happy to the core? I can't say that I was. I didn't recognize it till some old person brought it to my attention. but I was like, because what he was describing was fictional to me. It doesn't happen. The kind of happiness that he was describing does not happen. But it does. It does happen. I just had to, get more mature, get a different level of understanding. But when me and that girl broke up, he was like, now you've been through enough so that you're going to understand what happy is when you meet it. Before, she was better than the others. He said, but this one that you're going to be with is going to make you so happy, you're going to be afraid to be that happy because you're going to be looking for the other shoe to drop, and it's never going to drop. So I was like, okay. He died before I met Juanita.
Aww.
Mm-hmm. He died before I met my boo. So they never got to, I don't think they ever got to meet. But when I couldn't hear nobody else, he told me
got through.
All those experiences he had gone through in his life and all this stuff. He's the one who reinvested in me for music. He's the one who got me back into broadcasting because she had kind of, without me realizing it, my dream was starting to drift away. And I didn't even recognize that I was losing it. You know what I'm saying? But he put me in his studio, and he said, you work with me on this. And introduced me back into the thing I love to do when I started to wake back up. But sometimes you don't know you sleep until somebody slaps you back awake. So it was good. So when you guys are going through this 8 to 12 months, because a lot of you are, I'm gonna say this again, a lot of you are, because my Lord, Yahoo popping. Love y'all. But more importantly, what made me even think about this, to be honest with you guys, was the call I had before the show. And I was thinking, so young and so sweet and so, loving life and wanting to go out and tackle life and everything. And I'm so inspired every time I talk to this girl because of how she will talk herself back into a place of sanity. And most people don't do that, but she will talk herself back. She will say, I know, I just got to talk to myself more and get myself back, because if I was talking to somebody else, I'd tell them the same thing you told me. So but she just called me to see how I was doing. She called to check on me, said, I don't really want to talk about it. I just want to see how you're doing. You're on my mind and blah, blah. And then we ended up just going from there. And I thought about how so many people are going through these phases where they have to start looking at their investment. And they have to know and learn that one side is going to win. And although you're going to change in your relationship, will your foundation, will your core change? Will you, or are you going to be steadfast, especially when you're rooted in God and all things He has for you and all that stuff? Are you going to stay steadfast and rooted like the tree by the water, or are you going to be blowing in the breeze and moving whenever things get a little, are they going to be able to pull you and uproot you? Because if that happens, you're going to lose sight of yourself. And then when people start telling you that something's changed about you, I don't think this is right for you, blah, blah, all of a sudden, you're going to be like, what you mean? You don't understand. You don't understand it. This is going to get all kinds of crazy. But after this girl flipped out on her grandma, and I told her the same thing, she said, you might be right. Well, sometimes you just need to hear it from somebody who you think is not just trying to have their own
opinions. Right, exactly.
Right.
And also, I feel like one of the other things that this is my own level of how to gauge if you're in the right relationship or not, is not, because what you said earlier about how they're gonna better your life or whatever, that wasn't the exact term that you said it, but I don't want people to get that twisted to saying like, how are you gonna benefit me? How is you in my life gonna benefit me? Because that's not the way to look at it. Because I know some people who are like that too, where they just date somebody for like your ex. How is me dating you gonna benefit me and my popularity or my status or my my career, or that's not okay. That's not what you should look for. But as far as how it's gonna benefit the overall relationship, and but more so than that, how I gauge it is how is this relationship going to make me a better person? Like, does it not so that I fit into their life, but does this relationship propel me and convict me to become a better version of myself? And does the other person support me in that? Do we support each other in becoming each other's better versions? Not changing who we are, not changing the core, or I have a friend who used to, every boyfriend, she becomes a different person. I'm like, who are you now? What you like punk rock music now? Like, what you like? Gucci purses now? Like, when you used to have a hacky sack of a bag? What's happening? What's happening? So, and now you wear so much makeup when you used to not, and now you care about designer clothing when you used to not, and now or everything, every single boyfriend, something changed. To the point where sometimes, with one particular relationship, it challenged our friendship because, the whatever, I don't know if the guy didn't like me, or she was, embarrassed that I was too loud, or
I can see how that could happen.
Hey, shut it over there. Anyway, so. And then finally she's in a relationship where she can completely be who we know her to be, who she can be completely herself. She doesn't have to change anything. The other person accepts her fully as she is, loves her for it, and they both help each other become, better. Like, let's fix this, let's fix that. And like, not because I need you to fix it and the only way I'm gonna be with you is if you do what I say. Not that. But just wanting to be it has to just kind of ooze out of you, that desire and that want to upgrade yourself.
Mhm.
And I think I say upgrade because it's not like
Not
Netflix
the
is
not the not the Beyonce term. Upgrade you.
oh let me upgrade you. Oh yeah, she does say that. But what I'm
Yeah.
saying is like it's not like Netflix is all of a sudden going to turn into Hulu or like change itself completely. Netflix is
Right.
always going to be Netflix, except they do minor upgrades here and there to just become a better version of what they already
So,
do. And
right.
so same thing, like it's not like when
Wow, a non-food example. That's incredible. Go ahead.
right. I know, I'm just like proud of myself. Wow, June. um but it's not like one day, you're with one boyfriend and you want to be, or one girlfriend, you want to be a chef, and the next day, next girlfriend, you want to be a doctor, and the next, like it's not like you're constantly completely changing who you are and your desires and your vision. You have a vision, you just make adjustments to that and make it better. And
Right.
it has to come from within.
So,
And
so the quality of materials changes, but the
yes,
vision.
exactly, exactly. Oh yeah, that's perfect. It's not like, so you want to build a house. In the beginning, you might have just, little scraps and like twigs, but
Uh-huh.
then eventually sometimes you might get like brick and you might get like concrete and then you might get, I
Hmm.
don't know what other
You went from twigs to
material
logs,
are
from
there.
logs to bricks, from bricks
Right.
now you got mortar, not just bricks. Now they can stick together. Like you got all the things that soon you'll have the nice big house, the wrought iron gate, the things the
Hmm.
things you need to protect the things that you value, but they'll all be built on the same foundation, on
Exactly.
whatever foundation you chose. So you still have to choose stable ground to build on. So so anyway, you guys, there was a question that they wanted us to ask from the Yahoo thing before we end tonight. I was supposed to ask at the beginning of the show, but anyway, so it's a real quick question. It shouldn't take too much thought, or well, it shouldn't. So here goes. The question that we were being asked, and I think it was for this interview thing that I was participating with for this young journalist program or whatever.
Hmm.
I know I should know the name of this, y'all. I'm so sorry, but young journalists, okay?
Okay.
And basically what they want to know is, starting with Jules, and they always say this now. It even happened over the weekend. Really funny. They think I talk a lot. Whatever. I don't care. Anyway, the is Jules. Well, basically for both of us. A, what do you think? How would you describe your partner's musical style? And B, who would you best how would you say that the music of your partner affects you, and who would you say they most remind you of in industry overall? So and it's funny because we don't get a lot of musical questions.
Yeah, we don't.
That's really
That's
interesting.
new.
Yeah.
I can answer definitely. Wait, hold on. The first question is musical style.
Yeah, who do you like?
Um,
Yeah, so
so D has a his voice has like a depth. It's like it's like an ocean. It
oh
has
my God,
depth.
we have more. We've had houses, we've had cooking, we've been doctors, and oh God, this is
It's got like meat. His voice is it's not one of those voices that just kind of flutter like, oh, it's peaceful. Oh. It has weight. And it hits you like when especially when he sings gospel, it like hits you. So that's one thing that we share. We both mutually share the love of R&B. That's what both of us kind of grew up on and fell in love with, as far as music goes, and then as well as gospel. Because we both sing church all of our lives, and so it's very gospel, R&B, little bit of soul kind of mixed in, but it's very like real like Luther Vandrossy kind of like R&B.
never
It's
thought
got
about that.
weight. It has meaning. It has uh how else to describe that? it's not just like fluff. It has like a punch that it just shakes you in your stomach, because it has power. And whoa, sorry, what was the other question? Musical style, who it
Musical
reminds
style,
me of.
what, yeah, who it reminds you of, and how it affects you. Like, what is the overall effect? Because I think they're talking. Well, primarily they're focusing on how music is affecting this generation, and
Mm.
when you hear. So when we hear each other sing, what is the effect? And then, what is the joint effect of intermix? Basically, is the
Okay,
last.
so the effect I have with Dee's voice, and this is kind of the reason why I think it's a good mix, or not kind of, I know it is a good reason why our voices mix well, is I, well, okay, not to talk about me, let's talk about D. He has that lower register down, like that tenor, not tenor, sorry, that bassy, and that's why I think it's meaty, because it has so much like, uh, it's almost tactile. Like it has, so that's why it hits you and it moves you, because it shakes you to, it makes you listen. And so the words that come out, the lyrics that comes out of his mouth when he sings it, it gets so delivered. It gets delivered with such intensity that it really like sinks in. Um, because you know how there are some songs that you just sing along to and you don't listen to the lyrics at all, like you have no idea what the song's about, you just sing
Exactly.
along. Yeah, but with D, for the most part, like because the way he delivers the song and the way, um, and it all has to do with because he feels it all throughout him when he sings it, that you can't help but to understand the meaning.
Y'all should hear me
Um,
sing "Baby Got Back." No, go
I don't want to hear you sing that. Anyway, that's disturbing. Okay.
ahead.
And so intermix,
So
I know how I sound. I have a more of a, my voice has changed throughout the years too. As I get older, my voice is thickening a little bit more, and I have a little bit more like oomph. As opposed to when I was younger, it was a little bit more on top. Um, but we balanced because I have the top register. Obviously, I'm a female, but I have the top register. D has the bottom register, and so we have that nice harmony. And my voice sounds a little bit more pop, and D sounds more R&B, like soulful. Not to say that we can't do either or, because we do, but yeah, I guess the meat of it, or the majority of it, that's kind of where our voices fit. And so when we do songs together, it balances it out really well. And um, I don't know. It's fun singing with him because we bounce off. And this is something that his wife was saying over the weekend, which I totally concur. Um, it- that we have this that synergy that happens where we feed off of each other's energy. That it's more impactful, and it is definitely more powerful than if we were alone singing the song. Granted, there are some songs that yes, it needs to be like it's a one
Solo.
standing alone solo song, totally. But a lot of the times especially when it's like uplifting songs or like just fun, dancey songs or whatever, like we feed off of each other's energy so well that,
I'm a hype man.
well, yeah, but it makes it fun and it makes people more engaged, and I get more engaged. So
I
yeah.
was so tickled by our interviewer this weekend. It was great because she was so excited, and I had not seen her eyes open up like that ever. But she was so excited. Um, let's see. A Jules's voice, like in terms of an artist that she reminds me of. But I have a little bit of an advantage because I used to have to write about this all the time, so this is easy for me. But Jules has this pure, clean, like quality in her voice. She calls it poppy, but I hear so much. Jules has one of those I will tell on myself voices. So if she's not feeling a song, you will know it. When she is feeling a song, you will know it. She cannot fluff her way through a song. We tried it, like, but she's got one of those voices where once if she's in it, you are so lost in it. You cannot swim for air. You can't get up. You're there. But the reason is because her voice is that instrument that allows you to feel her very soul. But I actually wrote this pretty much word for word like that when I was writing about her years ago. Right, and the only thing that's changed, like she said, is she has more depth to her voice. But it's a very like when I get irritated, need to calm down, need to. Okay, I use Jules' voice to calm me down, not by talking to her because that doesn't work, but by listening to her sing, because then she's not going to have any comments or observations about the things that I need to calm down from, because then she'll just get me hyped up and we'll both end up in trouble. So, but her voice is very just. It's soothing. It tells a great story. And it's always like I said, she can transport you to a place that you didn't even know that you were looking to go to just by hearing the song, by hearing the delivery of the material, stuff like that. And but she reminds me of, if I had to say an artist, she reminds me of a mixture between Beyonce and Tamia. Beyonce, because there's a lot of rawness and passion when she's hurt. When Jules is hurt, she scares people when she looks at them while she's singing at them. You know, like when we were in the studio recording a particular song, I was talking about this the other day. She was staring, because y'all know how Beyonce has them intense eyes. You don't put your eyes back in your head. You know, like because like her eyes are all out here, her voice is out here, but her eyes are all out here too. You know, like that kind of thing. Well, Jules, her eyes stay in her head, but they get you. And the intensity, when she feels it, she tries to bring herself back real quick, because she caught herself feeling it so much that she's like, wait, was that note on? Was that the note? Was that okay? And she gets herself back, but it's really kind of fun to watch, like but she has that intensity, and I love that, especially like when you see that. Like I've seen it in acting, I've seen it in her acting. I know we're not talking about that, but I've seen it in the acting. And it comes out of nowhere. And at first, it used to shock the hell out of her, because she used to be like, "Where'd that come from?" And she would ask, "I don't even know I can do that." But I've seen it already. I've heard it in the music already. I know it's there, right? Wait till she discovers what else is in there. But anyway, I was busy today. Anyway, but there's this sound. But then that Tamia quality is that pureness. Like when you listen to Tamia sing, and you listen to the wide range of songs that she can deliver. Like I've listened to all 4 of her albums over the last couple of weeks, just because I needed to get back to an idea of what to do next. You know, and it kind of cleans the palette, because there's so much stuff out there, and there's so much stuff out there that you need something that's going to clean your palette. So it's either going to be classical, Michael Bublé, or Tamia. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Something that's going to be calm and just tell you a good story and feel it, right?
Yeah.
So I've been listening to Tamia, and I was like, wow, it reminds me so much of Jules. So one day I put some Jules stuff on, and I put Tamia on, and these two, it's just incredible the way they affect you. And and that's how I gauge things. Is I look at how do I feel emotionally after listening to these people sing, because I have to listen to these songs over and over and over again. So if this song starts to make me irritated by the time I hear it the 13th time, chances are it's not going to be the song. It's not going to cause a good feeling long term. But I'm still listening to the songs that and at least twice a week, I'm still listening to songs that actually is the songs that I found Jules with, the songs that I discovered her with, and I'm still hearing them like though they're the first time I've ever heard the songs. So I just love her voice. I love what she has even yet to discover about her voice. So I'm just loving these things. But as for the joint intermix sound, that is like you're taking. When I hear intermix, I hear so many different experiences. I listen to all of our stuff too. But somebody got to know the words to these songs. No, but anyway, I listen to all this. I
don't know what you mean. I don't know what you're talking about.
At least you're not as bad 50 Cent, who has to have everything written on the paper in front of him on the floor. But anyway, not he. Good Lord, I almost had a joke. But but Jules has when we sing together, it's an incredible experience, because our backgrounds come together in a way that it becomes tangible. It's a more of a tangible manifestation of all the things that we've gone through individually. And when you hear it come together, you start to hear those two different stories becoming one story. And it's and that's what I believe people get from hearing Intermix. So that way, when we're talking about no matter what the subject matter is, whether we're talking about just dancing and having a good time, you understand my personality, you understand Jules's personality, so together the song just makes sense. But if you heard the exact same song from somebody else, you'd be like, this is the most dumb piece of crap I've ever heard. I've never listened to this song again, blah, blah. But that's in a mix, so okay, cool. Dance to the music, y'all. Because honestly, I was listening to the lyrics, I was listening to the song, I was like, it works for us. Why is that? We have certain songs where people have said, I'm not really a fan of the content, really, but I really love the way you guys are doing the song. It just fits you. I'm like, must be the Lord. But we've always had that kind of thing. So musically, we have a good time. We push each other. We encourage each other, and it just balances out really well at the end of the day. And then it doesn't hurt that we, if we need to, we can slip into some rap. Yeah, I'm gonna release a song. I'm gonna release a song that Jules rapped on. I'm gonna release the song that Jules rapped on.
It's not me, you guys. It's not me. Trust. It's not me.
But I think that if we do that, we gotta shoot a music video for it because that's the only way it's gonna come out. But I already got all the stuff for it, so we're gonna see what happens. But anyway, you guys, this has been fun. So next week, y'all, we're gonna talk about loving yourself and how to make sure you're doing that right. But if this show hadn't happened, then I don't think we would have been set up right for the next show anyway. Mm-hmm. Because now you have to evaluate where you are and how you see yourself, so that you can kind of make the right decision.
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay. So I'm sitting here looking at stuff pop up on my screen, like, what is that? Okay. So anyway, you guys, that's been the show. Thank you for hanging out with us as we go down this tour of, remember y'all, 8 to 12. That's what we should call the show. 8 to 12.
8 to 12.
8 to 12. I actually had a good time. That was a fun show. I'm sorry. When I went down memory lane just then, I was like, wow, I can't believe I've experienced so much stuff. Wow.
That's why you're a good storyteller.
Man, okay. Yeah, so.
Anyhow, thank you for joining us for this episode. We will see you next week, Monday night, 9 p.m. Pacific time.
Yeah.
Have a good... Oh, wait, before we go, find us and like us on Facebook. Just type in Innermix. You can also search for us on Twitter. It's Innermix_show. And on Instagram. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, on Instagram, Innermix360.
Right. And then here on Google Plus, you guys can find us at Plus Innermix Show. Now, let me tell you, Instagram, she's been suffering a little bit, but that's because we've been a little busy, but we're going to try to get that girl breathing again. Okay, we're going to try to do something for Miss Instagram, but but we're going to try. We've been working on something else for you guys, though, so you can find everything at one time, so don't worry about it. Anyway, this has been the Innermix Show. I'm Simply D.
It's Jules, and we will see you next week. Have a good night.
Sure. Good night, y'all.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.